I'm going all in.
Yeah.
We're taking the W.
I mean, hey, I don't blame you.
I'm saying Auburn's 3-0 at this point.
All right. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the 157 Show. Once again, my name is Jonathan, and sitting right over here is Auburn Austin. We're going to talk about our past, what I guess is week 3 review.
This is week 3
review. I got to make sure I get them all right. Week 3 review for Auburn, Alabama. Big games happened. Some surprising things happened. Yeah, we're gonna touch on all that, and hopefully we can dive into it a little bit, and we'll just get each other's thoughts on what we thought about each other's team's games.
I'm gonna go and ask, what's the surprise?
I mean, to me,
was it the outcome, or did something happen in the game?
I think it was the outcome more than it wasn't necessarily what happened in the game, but it was the outcome.
So which game surprised you?
Oh, it was definitely the Alabama game. It was definitely the Alabama game. It was the score and how crappy.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No. It was definitely how crappy our defense looked. So I mean, it is what it is. Before we dive into all that, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, the like button, share it out to your friends, family, bring them on over here, tell them to subscribe as well. Drop a comment below what you guys thought about the game, and I mean, just give us your thoughts. Let us know what you guys think of what happened during Auburn Alabama game. I mean,
during week 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So before I was rudely interrupted for our shameless plug,
I'm sorry, I had to do it.
What I was going to say was that was a nice segue into talking about Alabama.
Yeah, well, I was trying to, and then I was like, nah, I got to do the subscribe button. I got to make sure I add that in there. I got to plug it. I got to plug it.
Yeah. Okay.
So no, okay. I was very surprised at how porous our defense was. Like, we could not stop a cold. Our nose was running. Well, actually, it wasn't ours. It was Florida's nose. Florida's nose was running. I don't know how much you watched the game.
No, I watched it. So I'm very concerned, and I'm a lot more confident going into the Iron Bowl this year, 6 weeks in advance. But I'm still really excited because Alabama's rush defense was trash.
They were terrible.
And the read option was just killing them.
Yeah, and what blows my mind is we got to them early on, first quarter.
First quarter,
we jumped on them, and it's a good thing we did because we would have been in a shootout. And I'm not sure that our offense could necessarily save our defense like last year. Last year, our offense saved our defense's butt many times, but this year, they're gonna have to fix it.
If you were to just play the game the second quarter through the fourth.
Yeah,
Alabama loses the game all day. And I'm not just saying that because that's what the score would have dictated. I'm saying just the way that they played, Florida played.
Yeah, and it's just don't get me wrong. There are some things that happened that with a little bit more experience, a little bit more game time, may not have happened. For example, Bryce running the ball, first downs, or the touchdown pass to Latu in the corner. That he was out of bounds. He probably could have ran that ball in, and that would have been another score. Now, there's another one where Slade Bolden dropped a pass, but I can't remember on that drive if we ended up scoring anyway. If we did...
Are you talking about the one where he dropped it, where he was wide ass?
He was wide open.
Well,
he was wide open.
I'm not sure for saying bad
It's okay.
But we are now.
He was wide open and just dropped it.
Yeah,
I mean,
hands down.
I can't remember on that same drive if we ended up scoring anyway. I don't remember off the top of my head. But... if we didn't, and that was 2 scores off the board that we necessarily could have had, the score would have been a little different.
Well, yeah, we can play the could have, would have, but
yeah, I mean, you would have been 16 points more than what they had now. But I don't. Either way, no matter what the score was, Alabama's defense did not look good.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of where I was going. So, and I'm not gonna pull numbers off the top of my head, but so Alabama had like less than 100 yards rushing, and Florida had.
Probably the worst rushing attack I have seen in a long time.
It was close to like almost 300 yards.
Yeah, they
rushing.
I know at one point they had 247 yards.
Yeah, so let's just go and say close to 300.
It was close to 300 at least.
Yeah, so they tripled.
I mean,
Alabama's
it was
rush.
I was very surprised at how in the trenches Alabama's line was just being pushed around, and that's not something that you would normally see from an Alabama team. They're typically I want to say well coached, but I get strength and conditioning wise, they're top notch. But you don't see that very often. Them being pushed around and being manhandled. And while we're talking about the lines, our offensive line is just as bad as the defensive line. I mean, our offensive line is false starts. I mean, there were so many penalties.
That was one of my talking points too, was going into the environment. And we can discuss it during the Auburn section, discuss it now. It's however you want to handle it. But I feel like the swamp environment had more of an impact
Yes.
on Alabama than the whiteout environment had on Auburn.
Yeah.
And we'll touch more on the penalties and stuff on the Auburn side of things in that section. But
I mean,
it was. I mean, like I think they had 4 penalties in the first quarter alone.
Yeah, it was undisciplined play.
And the thing is with Alabama,
the crowd jumped right in. The crowd had a big factor in it for sure.
For sure. So every game so far, Alabama has had more penalties. Mm-hmm. Granted, I get the swamp because you're 100.
Now I think
no, it was 90,000.
I saw a stat. And I can't remember. It was on average over the first 3 games, Alabama's averaged like 70 something yards in penalties. It was a crazy stat. Like, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you don't have an undisciplined Alabama team, hardly ever. And for them to be doing that, these guys need to learn to buy in to what these coaches are teaching them, and don't be, I guess, I don't want to say entitled, but just mainly just buy in, because some of these guys, I don't think they are putting in the effort. I think they're just going through the motions. I mean, our line was
kind of the first thing I think of when you say that is I go back to the 2014 playoffs. I think that was the first year they introduced. Was that the year that they got beat by
Ohio State?
Yeah. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the year they beat Oklahoma. So it may have been the next year.
I think so.
Something along those lines. And it's just where it was the Sugar Bowl. It wasn't the playoffs. It's where they lost that game. And it's just like everyone thought that they just rolled over.
That was the kick. You talking about when Trevor Knight, beat Alabama? I think it was 2013 when we lost to the kick six. They went into the Sugar Bowl and they just went through the motions and just didn't care.
And that's exactly what I say with the entitled thing.
Yeah.
I think you just come to Alabama expecting to win. And I think a loss to Florida this past weekend would have done the team good.
Yeah. And see, in the first, let's be honest, the first 3 games, Miami's not that good.
Yeah, they had a 1-point win over Appalachian State. So, yeah, they're not that good.
Miami's not that good.
Manny Diaz, this is just going to throw it out there. He will probably be fired before
Manny.
By the end of the year.
I think so too. Yeah. But I mean, the teams they played have not really necessarily been high level competition. And when we played someone that was an equal match as far as recruiting and talent, some of the holes showed.
Yeah, you saw that it was an equal. It wasn't a typical Alabama dominance, which I thought was occurring in the first quarter.
I want to say this: I'm not upset that we won. I'm not upset that we won by 2 points.
Oh no!
I'm upset by the mistakes that happened during that game. The reason we only won by 2.
Yeah, you're upset about the 11 penalties.
I mean, there was 14 points possibly on the board that we left. I mean, there was. I mean, it could have 16-point game spread, and I mean, I'm not upset that we won. I'm not upset that we won by 2. I'm just pointing out the holes and the mistakes that we made to only win by 2.
Yeah, Florida's rush offense. Out some holes
I will say this too. I was very impressed by Emory Jones after the first quarter.
And it was interesting. We talked about possibly being a dual quarterback situation. Well, apparently Richardson, I believe that was his name, was ruled to not be playing at all before the game, reported by CBS. So it was interesting that he obviously didn't play, and Emory Jones kind of solidified the starting role in my eyes.
I mean, he after the first quarter, he started making some plays with his feet, and great. Their bread and butter was running the ball.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if it's there, take it. And that's kind of the point. That's how you evolve as a player. And one thing to consider is, like, he threw the interception, I believe, in the first quarter. Well, he came out the second quarter, and they kept rolling. And I've been reading up on him. It's like that's the difference between games 1 and 2, where he was battling for that quarterback position with Richardson, to him having solidified that role.
I mean, he like I said, he came out in the first quarter. He didn't look that good. I was like, oh my goodness, these Florida fans are booing him. I heard the Florida fans booing him, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like this is just crazy. Yeah, and then he came out and really necessarily showed out in the second quarter on, and he just, I mean, to me, I like you said, I think he solidified the job, his starting job. Yeah. But that being said, summed up on one, I'm happy with the win. I'm happy that we can get out of the swamp because, I mean, the fans are literally right on top of you. Sidelines are not that deep. But, I mean, there's a lot of improvement to be made. I don't think we'll necessarily get to see that this coming week.
Versus Southern Miss.
Lower competition, again, I don't know if you're going to be able to see improvements over a team like, Southern Miss. But, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the win. So.
Okay, so you keep saying you're not upset that y'all won by 2 points. So let's go down that route. 31-29. Right. Okay. Checking my math.
31-29. Yeah, 2 points.
It counts.
Yes.
Let's say that Henry 02222.
Henry Toll.
He didn't.
Yeah.
Let's say he doesn't make the play, or he doesn't slow down the read option, the 2-point conversion.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all go into overtime. Who wins the game?
I don't think.
Be honest.
Honestly, I don't know if we would have stopped them. I don't know.
That is my take. I do not believe that y'all would have stopped.
I don't believe it would have stopped. They would have had the momentum going in from that. I don't know if we would have stopped
from the second quarter on.
For sure.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not trying to dog out on it.
I mean,
that's just what it dictated. And if you took away the final score and just looked at the box score, you think Florida won the game?
Yeah.
They outgained them.
Everything they outgained except for the scoreboard. That's it. It was that simple.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was happy. Bryce made some pretty good decisions. Again, it's his first time starting on the road. I'm not going to critique too much on him. He did what he was. He did enough.
It was the first true test for this young team.
Yeah. He did enough. Could he have done better? Of course. There's always room for improvement.
Correct.
But he could have done better. But he made good decisions. He didn't turn the ball over. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do, and that was win. So I'm happy overall. I'm happy overall.
I'm with you.
So
now there's one other pressing matter with the game clock issues. Do you want to address that now?
All I'm going to say is I think it's funny that we didn't have a single issue in the game clock until they didn't score their 2-point conversion. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, moving on. No conspiracy.
That's all I'm going to say. No conspiracy. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you.
All right, moving on.
All right, so Auburn had their whiteout game with Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State.
I mean,
man.
I don't know if you want to eat crow now or if you want to do it later.
We've been discussing it this week.
We've talked about this.
Do we want to make a separate video where we put the milestone that the first wrong take on the victory and the first wrong take on a 2 100-yard rush?
I'm just saying Auburn looked good in a loss.
It was a quality loss.
It was,
and it was a test for the Harsin era.
Yeah,
it was a
good way to kick it off.
It was a first away game.
I think
it was a close game.
Yeah,
and the team didn't look bad. They didn't look undisciplined, and
terrible play calling on certain situations was Auburn's downfall. I believe
terrible play calling. I agree with, but I'm not sure if I can place the. I'm not sure how to place the blame.
I will say the 4th down play on the goal line, terrible call. I'm saying it, a terrible call, but that's why I'm sitting here and not coaching.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the things you've seen articles where you see Brian Harsin saying that you run these 5 or 10 plays throughout the week and you practice them, you get them nailed down, and whatever you're feeling at that time is what you're going to go with. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of put the ball literally into Bo's hands to make that call. And to me though, this is where I'm kind of wondering how to take it. Is it Bo's fault because he immediately looked to Kobe Hudson for the fade? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming trying to draw the pass interference. I'm really not sure of the thought process there.
Right, but even then, the ball was thrown out of. There was no way the ball was going to be caught.
Correct, and then that kind of leads me back to that hit Bo took in the first quarter where he got up holding his shoulder. So I think there was an injury, and you can kind of see the evidence of that. In my opinion, later on in the game when he's throwing these balls that are 40 yards downfield that are going an extra 5 yards, or there's a lot of air. It looks like a punt, like it's just real. A lot of
that's one thing I noticed too. He would throw that ball up, and it took forever for it to get there.
And that's what people they're not connecting those dots. They're just thinking, it's old Bo, and he's making these silly mistakes, or he's just overthrowing his receivers. Yeah. But if you look back to the first quarter, I'm gonna say between the 5 and 10 minute mark, he takes a hit to the shoulder and he gets up, grimacing and holding it. So I think that kind of attributes to those air balls.
Now, okay, let me ask you this: was Penn State as good as you thought? And you said they were going to be good, but you also said Auburn's going to come out with a win. Are you impressed with Penn State?
I'm impressed with Penn State because I believe in this Auburn team.
Okay.
And I think that this Auburn team is better than what the number 23 ranking this week dictates. And I think that was proven this week. I mean, you go into Happy Valley.
I don't think they dropped any either.
One
point. I mean, it's still a quality. It was a quality loss either way, and it was only by what 7,
8.
8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you had one team, I can't remember who it was. They dropped them 15 out of the top 25.
It was a lot. But I can't remember who it was though.
So Auburn lost to a strong Penn State team and dropped 1. So I'm not really concerned with it. It was a quality loss versus a quality opponent. We kind of touched on the atmosphere in the swamp. So I think the atmosphere in the swamp was, like I said earlier, was more pressing on the Alabama line or the Alabama team than it was with Auburn at the whiteout. I don't think the whiteout really had that much effect on the team. There's no silly mistakes. I don't think there's any false starts, no offsides I'm aware of. So it was a good, disciplined game in that kind of hostile environment. But I'm just going to say it now. It had some issues. The whiteout caused some issues with the officiating.
The officiating was terrible. I will tell you that.
It was atrocious.
The
it was
officiating
for both teams. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to sound like a homer, but the intentional grounding or the lack thereof on Penn State or on Auburn, and then it occurring with Penn State. The loss of down where they had to punt.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely some questionable stuff going on. The
targeting call.
That was crazy.
It was targeting by the definition of the rule, but it was.
But what are you supposed to do in that scenario?
Exactly.
I mean, he's going for the goal. You have to. I mean, that's a football play.
If he's allowed to continue to make a play and make progress, forward progress,
you have to stop him somehow.
You have to stop him. So I mean, that's all I want to say on that.
I think that was a bullcrap call. I'll say it now. I think it was a bullcrap call.
Yeah.
It was a football play, and it just so happened. I mean, when an offensive player goes low, what are you supposed to do? Stay high?
Yeah, you just
as a defender,
you just let them fall down and get a couple extra yards.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with some of the play. I think some of them need to be questionable, and even if that means this is just me talking, just throwing an idea just straight out the blue. Even if it means take them out of the game for now and have, SEC officials back in Birmingham say review it multiple times and be like, hey, he can come back in the game and play. I don't see that. I mean, that's just me throwing an idea out there. Just continue the play. He needs to come out for the time being. If it was determined that it was not intentional, it was a football play, hey, he can come back in.
Yeah, and I don't want to put this out on the internet because I may be wrong, but back when targeting was originally put into play, even if you weren't, it wasn't rule targeting. You still had to sit out the rest of the game.
Yep. No, it was no. If it wasn't targeting, you got to stay in, but it was still a 15-yard play, which was I don't understand. Yeah, exactly. I never understood that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Unless they tried to, they call it as a roughness. I mean, unintentional roughness. Whatever. I can't talk, but anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So
I just
that's silly. The whole targeting thing is silly. Let's just move on from that. Defense. If you would have told me that the offensive line was going to play better than the defensive line, I would have been like, oh, the hell? No, no way. No, there's no way that the offensive line will play better than the defensive line. But they did. Defense had no pressure. Playing zone, and I mean, they had zero pressure. Sean Clifford was 28 for 32.
He threw some dimes.
You can't win a game when the opposing quarterback is 28 for 32. It's ridiculous. There's a lot of hope, and I'm excited for a lot of things, but the defense has got to get better. And I'm not sure if it's adjustments, if it's personnel. What do you do? I don't know. Yeah. So I'm curious to see how Derek Mason handles it. Because that's his bread and butter. Like secondary is kind of where he.
Overall, though, as a defensive unit, I mean,
they played good. Don't get me wrong. They played good. But when the opposing quarterback is 28 for 32, let me reemphasize that. Yeah, that's an issue.
Right. I mean, it just
with zero pressure, zero sacks.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Yeah.
Credit to them, their offensive line too.
I was looking at my notes. The next thing I was gonna say was the offensive line opened up holes and just like they did great. They, Bo Nix didn't really pass that well over 20 yards. He was like 1 for 10, but the offensive line gave him time.
Right.
And they opened up holes for both. Hunter
and they did run the ball effectively. I mean, I feel like they ran the ball effectively, and some of the plays they probably could have, again, the fourth down play. I would have taken my chances with my Tank Bigsby running the ball in there on 4th and 2 or 4th and goal, but from the 2, I mean, I believe I would have just handed it to him, let him do his thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
because he had like 2.2 yards after contact is what I was listening to on the way over here on a podcast. It's like, oh, that's interesting. So I'm gonna throw that in there.
Yeah.
Because if you got 2.2 yards after
that's
contact, just
that's
go
in the
for
ball.
it.
I mean,
go for it.
I mean,
I think you put it on your best player's hands. You literally do that and see what happens.
I mean, again, like I said,
There's
I think
a questionable play call.
Yeah.
I don't know how to handle it.
It is what it is. That's why we're sitting here and not coaching.
Yeah, and then it kind of goes back to, if you don't take the timeout to call the fade, then you get the ball back with 1:30 rather than 45 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's bad clock management.
I think what makes that play even worse is the fact that they called a timeout before that and said, you know what, this is what we're going to do.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I mean, to me,
call it out to call the fade.
I mean, when to me, you could have saved the timeout there.
Yeah.
Not that it would have mattered, but you still could have saved a timeout. I mean,
well, you get 40 extra seconds.
Exactly.
Like I said, you go from 45 seconds to 1:30.
Yeah.
On the clock.
I don't know. I mean, that's just, it is what it is now. But
just the final thing is talking about running backs. Sean Shivers missed he was out of the game, out of practice and out of games for a terrible 2 weeks because he, in my opinion, should lose the second string running back position. And not in a bad way. I like Sean Shivers. He knocked the dude's helmet off in 2019 Iron Bowl. So I like him a lot. But Hunter is kind of
just from me watching him in that Penn State game, he seems like a ready to go, knows what he's doing. Throw him in there as a freshman. He knows what he's doing. Throw him in there.
Yeah,
I think he's.
And that hurdle, boy, drop a light for the hurdle. I mean,
that was good. I've seen that.
Athleticism. That
was
awesome.
good.
Yeah, so I think Sean Shivers has lost his second
spot.
Yeah, it's going to be Bigsby. It's his offense.
Yeah.
Well, it's his spot.
Right.
And then you're going to have Hunter. And I'm excited to see what happens. To wrap it all up, it's a quality loss. I'm happy. Mm-hmm. I'm not happy that they lost, but I'm happy that they kept it competitive.
It wasn't a blowout game.
Yeah, it's such a hostile environment. And I'm excited to see what happens and go from there.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, y'all heard that here. Well, this is our take on the preview, or the review. I keep saying preview. The review of Week 3 games. Again, Florida and Alabama and Penn State and Auburn. Both of them were great games. I
would say they're almost classics.
They were good games. I will say they were good. First quarter Alabama game, I was like, all right, this is going to be another blowout. But it ended up being a very good game. And I was happy to actually have an entertaining game.
You'll hear about both of these games throughout the